Welcome to How to Run for Office and Get Away with It. This is the show about what it really takes to step into public life without losing your sanity, your integrity, or the people who matter most. You know, before the slogans and the selfies and the campaign launch comes the part nobody tells you about, the kitchen table conversation. Because when you run, your family runs too. The long nights, the missed dinners, the strangers with opinions, it all becomes part of their world. So in this premiere episode, we're talking about what to do before you decide to run, how to bring your family into the decision early, what to ask, and how to know if everyone is ready for the ride. So grab your coffee, your campaign notebook, and maybe your family therapist, and let's get into it. Welcome to How to Run for Office and Get Away with It. I am your host, Scott McGuffin.
I'm your co-host, B. McGuffin, and this is our inaugural podcast.
Our very first podcast.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited. This is going to be a lot of fun.
This has been a long time in the works.
So maybe we need to start by explaining what the hell we're doing here.
We're helping people run for office and get away with it. Self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory.
Now, we are giving people the advice that they're always looking for and never seem to find on running for office, especially in local offices, especially in those city, county government, even state rep and state senate offices.
Yeah, all of the local stuff that first time people running for office, especially people that don't have a lot of experience with it. These are the kind of offices that they're running for.
And a lot of times, if you're one of the people who's looking to run for office, you're looking for advice. You're asking people. You're getting a lot of things from armchair politicians, the Monday morning quarterbacks of politics.
Yes.
The 24-hour news network watchers.
Yeah, the people that think they know what they're talking about, but they have no experience in it.
So that a lot of your enthusiastic politico, your enthusiastic local volunteer.
Yeah, and if you follow politics at all in your area, I'm sure you know who that person is.
But we love them and we need them.
We need them.
Every campaign.
We absolutely do.
So this is going to be, every episode is going to tell you a different aspect of what you can anticipate in a campaign.
Okay, so why are we calling this podcast How to Run for Office and Get Away with It?
Because you're lucky if you get out alive.
It's that terrible, huh?
No.
That stressful and that
No, it really isn't.
dangerous?
No, but I think a lot of people are very intimidated by the running for office election process as being the candidate. And a lot of people don't have a lot of direction on what that actually looks like. Most of the things that people think about a political campaign, they're consuming in media and fictional storytelling. They're getting it from Aaron Sorkin's depiction of it, or even comedic depictions of it. You're seeing it, Parks and Rec isn't actually that far off, except for the giant bus, the tour bus that's going around town. Right. But most of the time you get a not very accurate picture of running for office on the media that we're consuming. You get something that's created for drama, and so you get into running for local office, especially, and you're trying to recreate this thing that you saw on television that you think that's how campaigns are run.
And our contention is that's a bad idea.
That's a terrible idea. But, a lot of times you're also getting advice from all different directions. It's not professionals who are giving that advice. It's not somebody who's been in politics since they were 8 years old, like I have been, who doesn't work in it like we do, who didn't go to school for it, but they are the armchair experts, the 24-hour news watchers who think they know exactly how to run a campaign, but they've gotten all their ideas on how a campaign looks from the same place that you have, so they have no better insight. A lot of times people just don't have access to the people who can tell them what to
So that's
really
that-
what it comes down
that's
to.
what it comes down to. The reason that we want to do this.
Is people really don't have access a lot of times, especially in those local offices, to the people who can answer their questions with expertise and authority on running for office, on the things that they need to do and focus on. And that's really important because, you've got people who want to run for office, want to do their civic duty. Uh, and the government part, they'd be fantastic at. But the political part is hard. And it doesn't have to be as hard as it is
And it
for
is
people.
it is a unique experience, though.
It is, and I've been on both sides of it. I haven't run for office myself. I've been a member of a family where I had a parent that ran for office that was an elected official. So I've been in that family part of it. I've been in the running the campaign aspect of it, and it gives a perspective that a lot of people don't necessarily have or appreciate. And usually those are the people who are giving advice.
Right, right. And that's terrible advice to take. So that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to help people along in that process in a way that, they're not going to get from any other source.
And of course, we have our own consulting firm, Be Political Consulting, which helps people run for office. So you are welcome to check out our website for that. But in the meantime, come back and visit us for each of our episodes, and maybe we can just talk with you about it. See if we can answer a few questions for you.
That's right.
Make it a little easier.
That's what we're here for. I don't know if we'll be able to take phone calls or anything like that, but we'll see.
I think we'll probably get emails, answer emails and social media posts and things like.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We definitely will.
Because it's the 21st century. I feel like you take phone calls at the radio station.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where my brain went. Well, anyway, so we're going to talk about campaigning, your personal life when you're campaigning, what strategies you should look to implement for yourself. Now, we're under the assumption that a lot of our listeners, if they're interested in running for local office, are going to be their own campaign managers. Is that a good idea?
That is a terrible idea. That is a terrible idea to be your own campaign manager. If you are running for office, there is a good chance you probably have some sort of career. Now, perhaps you're retired and you've decided to take on this challenge of public service in your retired time as your second or third act. So you don't have that full-time job, but running for office is a full-time job.
It definitely is.
And running a campaign is a full-time job, and you can't do running for office alone. So when you are running for office, have somebody help you for sure. If you can get a campaign manager for a price that fits into where your campaign should be, then you should do that. If you have tools that you can utilize that are available to you that fit within that local budget that help walk you through, then definitely utilize that.
And that's where Be Political comes in.
Yeah.
Because we can provide you with that campaign management that you so desperately need to run a successful campaign, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only will we walk you through those first steps, but we can do it in a reasonable amount of money that makes sense for a local campaign to be spending.
That's right. Well, enough about us. Let's talk about our listener. Let's talk about the campaign people and what's our first topic that we're going to be discussing.
Well, Julie Andrews says that you start from a very good beginning, a very good place to start.
That's right.
So I am starting with the very first step that you take in a campaign. And it's the thing that I always tell people, and people were like, really, that's the answer? That's the very first thing that you should do if you're going to run for office? And I say, absolutely, every time. This is the very first thing that you should do if you're running for office.
And that is?
You need to talk to your spouse, your partner, the person you share your life with. You need to talk to that person and say to them, and thinking of running for office. And then, if you have that conversation right then, okay. If you have no more information and that's when you should be saying it, If you have no more information than that, except for I'm thinking of running for office, this is such a big step in your life. It takes over a fair amount of your time. And it does put your family, your immediate family, directly in the limelight. And when running for a local office, that light can feel very, very bright.
And you know that from experience.
I do know that from experience, and I know that that can be stressful for spouses, for children, and you want to make sure that they are on board or that they have an understanding of expectations, that everybody is on the same page. Now, why is that the business of the campaign? Why is that the first step? Because that's going to be a big part of your campaign. Even if your family isn't really involved in the campaign, even if your spouse isn't, how your campaign is affecting you at home and your family is going to show, and it's one of the number one killers of a campaign. Having that stress at home that's not being met or managed, it's going to bleed out into your public life. People will notice. So, the best thing that you can do from the very beginning is say to your spouse, I'm thinking of running for office. And then, that's it.
Then you have that discussion.
Well, I say, don't look up anything, right? Now, you may disagree with me. And for our brand new listeners who are joining us in this inaugural episode, we are married. So you get to hear us have this fantastic marital discussion. I think that you don't find any information out at all. And you just say to yourself, or you just say to your spouse, I'm thinking of running for office, right? And then you can gauge that temperature. They're going to tell you things that they feel about you running for office. And you're going to be able to say, okay. And then if it's strong, if you feel strongly about it, and you're like, no, I'm gonna look this up anyway. If your spouse isn't necessarily on board, or maybe they are, maybe they're just as excited as you are. That hasn't always been my experience. It's usually the apprehension from the spouse, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So you have that information on where they are, and then you can look up that information, bring it back to them. You can say, okay, these were your concerns. I do feel pretty strongly about wanting to do this, and here's why. But for me, and you tell me how you feel, husband. I personally, if you came to me and was like, I'm thinking of running for office, and here's 10 pages of everything I've learned about it, I'd be like, are you thinking you're running for office, or you are? Like, you're deep into this and you didn't even talk to me first. So is that the way you would feel? Is that how you are with it?
No, I don't know. I think if you spent the time to come up with a well thought out plan and had some information up front, I think that would probably convince me that you were serious about
Okay, so I think this has to be a know your spouse sort of situation.
it. Yeah, which hopefully you do.
So it is my expert opinion that you say it and then walk away, get the information, and then come back and say, I thought about that some more and what your concerns were or what your thoughts were, and I found out some information. And then, this is important to me, or I understand your concerns, and maybe we just, you know, wait a few years and I'll try this at another time. Maybe that's the answer, but you got to establish that right from the beginning.
Regardless of how your spouse responds or what reassurances they need, or I mean, your results may vary. It all depends on you.
It depends on your relationship. It depends on, and you may be a person who's running for office that doesn't have a partner, doesn't have a spouse, that doesn't have that person that you share your life with, but there is usually somebody. It might be like you might have your mom that helps you out with your kids. And that person is someone you spend a lot of your time. You have to negotiate your schedule with. spending a lot of time communicating with. You want to maybe, like, depending on your relationship, that might be the same conversation or a similar conversation.
Whoever your person is.
Whoever your person is, yeah, you need to look at the person who you don't determine things without, like, in your household, with your time, with your schedule, all of that.
Because they are going to be impacted by this.
Yeah, definitely. And
And it's really, really hard to run a serious and successful campaign if you don't have at least an understanding from your partner or your person, and acceptance that this is something that you want to do, because it is a major lifestyle change.
and it's also one where you personally, emotionally need some support. A lot of people think, oh, I don't need somebody to build me up. But it is nice every once in a while to have, you come home after a day of having people say, you know, I'd vote for you except for your political party, or I heard you were a bum, or whatever, and be able to come home and have somebody who says, you're loved. I've got your back.
Absolutely.
Uh, I've known spouses who were ready to throw down over some petty things that just regular people were out there saying in the like, not like, just like, oh, I heard that person wasn't so good at this, and just overhearing it, and they were ready to, like, be up. It's you can't, but it's wonderful to know you have a person who's ready to just drop everything.
Because if you think that's happening in your life now, run for office and it'll be amplified at some point,
It's
especially in smaller towns or smaller communities, where people know each other's business. There will be some conflicts that you'll have with potential voters, and having taken that on the chin and then being able to come home to support is nice.
Well, not even conflict, but once you're kind of out in the public eye, you're subject to gossip, and whether or not any of it's true doesn't really matter, and that's very frustrating to be the subject of gossip. And especially, or have someone you love be the subject of gossip, and you're just, like, going about your business like you were in the produce aisle and hear somebody talking about your spouse and you don't even know them, and they're trash talking them, and all of it's wrong. So, that can be very frustrating. That can be difficult. And I've seen spouses who don't handle that well. I've seen some who handle it, like, with grace and dignity and charm and a smile, and God bless them is what I say. Because it's not easy. It's not. One time I got in trouble for denying a child candy in a parade because he said, my parents didn't vote for your dad. And I said, well, then you don't get any candy.
Wow. Some of the advice given on this particular podcast you may not want to take that same attitude.
I want to tell you that was not the right thing to do. So, tell your kids, can't do that. But at the time, what I'm saying is I understand the impulse. And you're going to have to talk to your spouse about, hey, you need to get your spouse on board. You need to get
Your
your
spouse,
partner on board.
that's the bottom line.
You need to get your immediate family on board.
If you don't
You start there.
if you don't have that, then it's going to make things infinitely harder.
So, when you're doing that, you're going to have a lot of questions that come up. You're going to have a lot of things that are, what are we going to do about this? Or how are we going to handle that? Who's going to take, um, the girls to softball, and who's going to take the boy to Cub Scouts? Like, there's a lot of things that change, and those questions have to be answered before going into this too. And so some of that needs to be taking place in that partnership within your household and who you're dealing with there, and working that out. And a lot of that comes down to the questions that you dealt with whenever you had that hard conversation with yourself, which we're going to talk about more in I guess, the next episode.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about how to talk to yourself about it. What information do you need, and what we want everybody to try to understand the changes that would take place when deciding to enter politics, and kind of anticipate what kind of obstacles there might be.
So a lot of what you're doing there is you're gonna write stuff down. You're gonna answer questions for yourself, and you're gonna start looking at like physical literature and things that you can, or links on websites or what have you, that's gonna be able to inform
Or this podcast.
or this podcast that's gonna be able to inform your decision. And this we're hoping is one of those things that you a tool in your toolbox whenever you're running for office. And so hopefully you're going to be seeking out that information. And then you're going to be putting that together and asking the tough questions. Do I have the time? Do I have the money? It, do I have the right place to be? Am I in the right place in my career? Am I at the beginning? That might not be a good time to run for office, is when you just got your foot in the door and you're trying to make something of yourself wherever you are. It might not be a good time to run right when you're, angling for a big promotion. If you're waiting for things to sort of work out there, it's a pretty good time to run once everything's sort of plateaued within your career, or if you're retired, or if you're in the middle of changing careers and this is what you're doing. That's the things that you need to be able to answer for your spouse, I think. So
Absolutely. And again, everyone's relationship is a little bit different, but I think the point that we're trying to make here is that your spouse should be supportive.
you should know. I don't know. Supportive is the goal.
Supportive is the goal.
Supportive is the goal, but there needs to be a reasonable understanding. There needs to be a reasonable understanding in this, that you are running for office and it is a known fact, and you need to be comfortable with how everybody landed on the beginning of this. Like, because if you don't, I mean, it's going to affect your entire campaign. It will cast a shadow on the entire campaigns. And people will notice it. It will affect how things are being, run within the campaign. It will be a distraction in what people are talking about. People will notice that your family is never with you. And then you've got to overcome this unspoken narrative of, if you can't convince your family you should be in office.
Right, exactly.
And that is the narrative. I've seen it. Even his own wife won't vote for him, or her own kids aren't. Like, I've seen it.
Yeah. So understanding the stressors and the limitations that running for office puts on your spouse, and also the amount of time that it's going to be taking from you, financial investments, your own career.
And those
That's
together,
kind of, and we'll talk about that in a lot more detail in future episodes. But that's really the starting place for it.
and if you think about that, the things that you're looking at, that you're zeroing in on and making those decisions, are time, finance, and career. Well, two of those, if you're married or you're in a committed, relationship, are very likely they're shared. Your finances are shared. Your time is definitely shared. So making that decision without them, well, you may not have access to the finances that you think you have access to. So,
There might be a secret bank account that
you
thought you had hidden.
there might be no bank account after you file anyway.
What?
They may divorce you.
Well, let's not go there.
No, I'm just saying, you may not have the resources you thought you did going into that without your partner on board.
So after you've convinced your spouse,
Convince them, talk to them, come
discuss-
come to a reasonable agreement of what this change in like.
And you've convinced yourself by considering, the time factor and the finance factor and the career factor.
Yeah. And honestly, convinced yourself is the right way to describe it because that's what people do.
Yeah.
I think you and I both have seen this 1,000 times. People, they're going to run for office. Oh, no, I'm not going to run for. No, I'm going to run for. I call it the Schrodinger candidate.
Right. Exactly.
You always laugh when the Schrodinger candidate. Are they going to run? Aren't they going to run? When are they going to run? We never know. They're always a candidate, but for what? When? Don't look in the box.
Don't look in the box. All right. So who would be next? Who else do you need to make sure is early on in this decision making that you are discussing?
The other people in your household. And honestly, you need to not really be talking to anyone else. It needs to be your spouse, partner, if you have that person. It needs to be the conversation with yourself and then returning back to your spouse. And then it needs to be the other members of your household. Very specifically, children who are, under the age of 18.
Right.
They're going to be deeply impacted by it. And that I can speak to personally as well. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. As a matter of fact, growing up in that environment, I was exposed to a lot of really great opportunities, interesting people. I've met all walks of life. I actually enjoyed most of it. I did not enjoy how much time it meant that I did not get with that parent. I did not get a lot of time outside of campaign and politics. And so that became bonding time.
Right.
That became when we did things together. That was kind of like our version of a father-daughter date, I guess.
Sure.
Was going to like a fundraiser or a banquet, going around and shaking hands and telling each other, that person's, Joe Smith. And then, make sure you ask him about his son just graduated from Johns Hopkins. And it was actually a pretty great duo. It was a bonding experience in doing that. So don't think that this has to mean time away from your children. It just means different time that you have. There's a lot of ways that you can make your children feel incorporated into the campaign.
And that's, I was just thinking about some of the people in history, like JFK Jr. and, the children of politicians who also get into politics and can be successful. And that's that lifetime of experience with your parent running for office probably has some influence on some of these kids.
Well, and, or a lot of times from the outside looking in, it appears that they've gotten pushed into it or that they've taken over a legacy where it just got handed to them. And in some instances, that's true.
Sure.
I've seen that. But in a lot of those instances, what I've seen is it's a little bit of both. It's, this is what I know and this is what we do, but it is a big part of me and I love doing this. It's a lot of that attitude.
Sure.
met
Well, yeah,
the-
you have to have that innate desire.
Yeah.
To.
You have to, or you're not going to be very happy.
So-
doing it. And we've seen that too. I've seen successful politicians who did not like being politicians, who did not want to be in office necessarily. They liked the work of governance, but they got pushed into it by a political parent and didn't really want to be there. And they were miserable. They did the job well, but it wasn't their calling. And, so handle your kids with a little bit of difference for what it is they want and need in life.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously your kids
Yeah.
better than we do.
But there are opportunities to utilize your campaign as an opportunity to spend time with your kids. You may have introverted children. I understand that. You may have an introverted spouse. There's ways to be involved anyway. There's so many envelopes to stuff. There is so many,
Okay, you're gonna put your kids to work.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your first line of support is your spouse and your kids.
Door hangers. It says put
Sure.
on doors. There's candy to be thrown in parades, people. Who's going to throw the candy? I ask you.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
A special ed skill. That's
It's
only
a very important part of the campaign too.
yeah, it is. So no, but it also one of the things that I've seen that really opens up opportunities for children of politicians who've gone through this process is you get a lot of people who are professionals who volunteer their time or skills for local campaigns because it's personal to them, the people that are holding local office. And because they're lending their professional skills, your kids get the opportunity a lot of times to be around those different people and in volunteering and helping with your campaign, even picking up some of those skills and finding a passion that they didn't know that they had before.
Yeah. So it's not all bad.
It's not all bad. Boy, you really sell it there.
It's tough. I mean, if you've got school age kids or teenage kids that um while you're running for office, it can be tough on them because of recognition and public scrutiny. There's a lot of caveats that you have to consider.
As a teenager, you lose your identity a bit.
Yeah, you definitely
Be
can.
your own person and you are so and so's daughter.
Right.
And no moment is safe from being, Joe Smith's daughter,
Right.
or Jane Smith's son. There's just, whether it's getting your prom pictures taken while your date's dad explains why you would have voted for your dad if it weren't for this,
Yeah.
uh, or, you're just trying to enjoy your friend's birthday party and you have no idea what they're talking about in that particular race, but there they are talking to you about it. It takes over.
Right.
It does take over a bit,
Small town politics, especially,
especially.
people feel free to discuss whatever they want with the families of the people running for office, which
So that's
never really made sense to me.
that's the next part of this is, actually talking to your kids about if you have children under the age of 18, you need to discuss with them what their new rules are because they now have to engage with the public differently.
Sure.
Because the public well, they don't have to engage with the public differently necessarily, but the public will be engaging with them differently. Um, and it amazes me, but when you run for local politics, people feel more entitled to your family because you're part of the community.
Right. Exactly.
And so it's not so removed.
It's the price of some celebrity,
Yeah.
and you have some
Local
recognition, some and that's tough on everybody, or it can be tough on everybody. You just have to be prepared for it.
So sometimes your kids might find out, well, maybe not so much anymore because technology and all that, but sometimes your kids might find out their grades before the report cards come out because somehow that became it. That got somebody mentioned it to somebody else, and why are you talking about my grades? I did really well in school. That was a wild one. That was crazy when somebody told me what my grade was in something. So why are people talking about my grade? They are excellent, though. Thank you. Um, but there's going to be some people who struggle with boundaries. Who struggle the public struggles with boundaries. We see
Well, and
that.
that extends then to the next group of people that you need to consider, your immediate family.
Right.
So it's not just kids that can be affected by this. Parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, that type of thing.
And we'll talk to them eventually, but I mean, getting back to the kids is, we've got to prepare them mentally for what if people are going to be more rude. What can your kid feel comfortable saying? What are their boundaries? you need to give them permission to stand up for themselves, in my opinion. Don't tell them to just, stand there. You can tell them to say things like, um, I appreciate that that's your opinion and you're entitled to it, but that's my dad, and I'd appreciate if you'd send those comments to him directly. You can practice phrases like that.
Right.
Uh, and that allows your child to be able to set boundaries with adults who should already have those boundaries, but, you know,
Yeah, but they don't.
but
They just
but
don't.
people, I mean, but people. So having that conversation with them is really important. And then the next thing that you need to talk with them about is managing expectations. Because if you're running for office, you are one person. You are one person who's trying to meet a lot of needs, and you're adding a whole lot more people needing you. And so you may have those after school activities that you were involved in every single one of them and have never been late, never missed anything, but that's not going to be the case anymore. You're not necessarily going to be able to manage that time. So there's going to be, maybe you only make it to one basketball game that week instead of both of them, or, maybe you have to trade off with your spouse, or you have a grandma's going to pick you up after school for a little while on Wednesdays and Thursdays. These are the things you need to get your kids prepared for, and understanding that you taking time away from them to run for office is not a reflection of your feelings about your kid. You don't want to spend time away from
Or maybe you do.
them. Wow, MacGuffin.
Hey,
Maybe you want to.
sometimes you need a break from the kids.
Yeah, this is not a break from the kid. Look, I need a minute. Like, I need to go sit by a pool somewhere where I don't have to say, don't stop running, right? But this is not that. Running for office is not the break from your kids that you are looking for. That's just inheriting constituency, and that's just a large group of kids.
Okay. That's a good way to look at them. All the constituency is your kids.
Nah, yeah. They're whiny,
And you got to look after them.
and you got to look after them, and they're always coming to you with things like, are you for real?
And for some reason, they're sticky.
And I don't know. That's not wrong. I do go through a lot of hand sanitizer.
That's right. They're always sticky.
No, I love every one of the constituency who are out there, especially those who volunteer in their for public service in your community, and who, all of that. But some of them are sticky.
So when you were a kid and you had this situation where your dad ran for office for a number of years,
And was in office.
and was in office, and you did a lot of help on the campaign, and were kind of there spending time with them. Do you feel like you got the support that you needed? Or what are some of the things to that you experienced?
I don't know that I was ever asked if that was something that I was comfortable with. We were just sort of told that that was what was going to be happening. And that doesn't really bother me. I was 8. That seems appropriate, in my opinion. It was for me.
Well, it was for you.
It was for me, anyhow, to let me know that that was happening. But I think that it was also thoroughly and plainly explained to me that what would be required. And I think that that was a big part of it. It was thoroughly explained that this would mean that people we didn't know would know our names. People would strangers would be talking to us. That was the initial conversation.
So you were
I had.
instructed that you should talk to strangers.
No, I was instructed on how to handle strangers talking to me. Now, growing up, I had always had the problem of I talk to strangers, which our
Which you still
son,
do.
our son has this problem.
He does too, yeah.
He will talk to, hi friend, I'm 6 years old, and like we're very happy he doesn't know his social security number.
Yeah.
He would announce it.
He's a sponge for information.
And he would announce it to people, and that's how I was.
Get them while they're younger, Vita.
That's how I was as a kid. And so you know your kids better than anybody. You got to remember how, like, if your kid is an introvert, you got to help them with strangers are going to be talking to you. So this is how we're going to handle this, okay? If your kid's an extrovert, you got to manage that a little bit too. I know this from personal experience of being that kid and having that kid. And the problem is where did he go? Where did she go? Because again, you have strangers who feel familiar with you and they don't have, well, sure, I'll take you over there. Yeah, your dad's busy. Oh, your mom's there working hard at the table. I'll take you over there. And your kid's an extrovert. And here this person was just shaking hands and chatting up your dad. So you got to manage that. It's
Yeah, because that doesn't sound safe anymore.
right. And well, it wasn't safe then. And, you know, I was growing up with John Walsh.
Yeah.
You know, on television, and of course there was a lot of law enforcement around. My father was in law enforcement, so you know, I was getting the stranger danger talk, but also these strangers don't kick them in the shed, right? Like don't do that. But let's recognize
It's a very fine line.
right. Recognize boundaries and what's acceptable and not. So I feel like that conversation was had with me and had regularly, partly from necessity because I am such an outgoing extrovert, partly out of just taking care of protecting me and giving me the tools to stand up for myself when necessary. And, you know, building a little bit of a tough skin about hearing somebody that you love who's important to you be talked about and not necessarily cause a blight. It can be difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that was part of something that happened when I was growing up that really helped. The everything was very clear. When we lived in a very, very organized household, we had a very large calendar that remained on the refrigerator that had everything that everyone was doing written in it, a whiteboard on the refrigerator with everyone's tasks for the day. And my mother would list them all up and would draw a erase vignette or erase everything as you did those tasks or you went to that thing. And my husband, McGuffin, you can attest to this. You live much the same way.
Yes.
But
Yes, we definitely have a whiteboard, several whiteboards on the
I
fridge.
love a whiteboard. I do. I love a whiteboard.
Yes, you do.
I have an Amazon subscription for Sharpie pens. Do you like whiteboards? I do. They come every 2 months, the fine point Sharpie pen.
We have a rather large supply of Sharpie pens.
I love me a Sharpie and whiteboard.
No, not Sharpies. The Expo.
Expos.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I have a subscription for Amazon for Expo markers. It's the fine tip Expo marker pens. Yes. So yes. And that made a big difference too, because I think what it came down to, and you don't have to have those things, although I strongly encourage that level of
And
communication.
we'll be discussing that type of thing in future episodes.
Things that you do in both your campaign and your personal life. That'll be important. But, you know, what it comes down to is just having clear channels of communication about what is happening with, because there will be a lot of things. There'll be a lot of coming and going, which
Sure, scheduling will be very important for your family to understand what is expected from them and what is going to be happening with you.
and I've seen kids get upset because, like, I don't know, I never know where you are anymore because they're just at home and suddenly they're a latchkey kid. And that wasn't what their world was before that. Now they never know where their parents are or where, you know, and that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Is being able to have that clear communication. It's a security thing, I think. But I didn't have to worry about that. I always knew. I checked the whiteboard.
As organized as your mother is, I can imagine that it was It was a very large white marker with multicolored.
She had drawn perfectly straight lines through it and divided it into fours and had our names at the top of each one of the boxes. And that was our section. Mine was the bottom left.
Anything else about the kids?
I don't think. I think no, I want to hear what if we have some wonderful listeners for this inaugural podcast, I want to hear what their questions are on some of these things.
Yeah.
Maybe we can answer those in the next podcast or do a little follow-up Q&A.
Absolutely. And you can send those questions to what's the email that they can send?
You know what? For now, let's have them send it to bepoliticalllc@gmail.com.
It's BEE Political LLC
At Gmail.
at gmail.com.
I like that. It's be political. I can't do it. I don't have that.
You don't have the.
I don't have that radio voice.
That's what you
have. So then you brought up an interesting point earlier, which was the extended family.
Yeah.
People who don't live with.
So similar to your kids, a lot of times if you have brothers, sisters, parents, those people get involved as well. And that's, part of your support base, you hope, is going to be your immediate family. So there's going to be some things that you want to discuss with them as well, I assume.
Well, and one of the things people don't really think about, and it doesn't need to be a top priority. It depends on the relationship you have with a family member. But a lot of times you have family who are, a sibling or even a cousin. They have small businesses that are in the area who have the same last name. You're known to be family, and it can impact their businesses some. And it can impact your relationship with them because of that. So it's not your first priority getting to that extended family and letting them know, but they should be in the first round of people that you're telling, if only because they're your early supporters.
Exactly. And you want to be able to hopefully count on them to give you support, at the very least not oppose you. I think we can go back in history and find instances of extended family members that were opposed to the candidate.
Oh, yeah. Well, what comes to mind immediately is the Roosevelts.
Oh, sure. That was a rather prominent political family.
And a contentious relationship.
You may have heard of them.
Because Alice Roosevelt, of course, Teddy Roosevelt's daughter,
Right.
felt that Franklin Roosevelt had sort of jumped the line, that it should have been her brother, Teddy Jr., who was taking on that leadership role in the political world, but also that they were Democrats. But Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt were Democrats. And of course, the Teddy Roosevelt family were Republicans. And so they had that rift between them as well. And then Alice, who was this very outspoken party girl who it never had a moment's compunction about saying exactly what she thought to literally anyone. She was walking around doing impressions of Eleanor Roosevelt that were not flattering at all, which is horrible. But publicly and in front of reporters, this would have been like a Twitter war. Like, this would have been beef on Insta back in the day. Like, Alice would have taken over.
And public fodder to boot. This was so public.
It was
at the time, and today, obviously, it would be even worse.
This is like Kim and Taylor. This was a Kim and Taylor sort of situation.
This is a pop culture reference that I don't get.
Oh, okay. Well, Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift.
I have heard of them. Yeah.
Yes, apparently had a rift. I'm not talking about what that rift was. They did not. They have very publicly feuded on social media and in the public eye, and it's just, it was that for its day. Alice and Eleanor. Roosevelt in that.
But that
competition.
but that was family too.
That was that, and that was
Everyone was named Roosevelt,
oh,
so it was very easy to know, and that gave Alice a lot of public attention, just because she was named Roosevelt.
well, no, she was pretty well known. She was Paris Hilton. Don't forget.
Paris Hilton, yeah, okay.
She was the Jenna Bush, before she was on the Jimmy Show. She was having a woohoo good time.
So be aware if you have people like that in your family. Really make sure that they're on your.
The outspoken who dislike you.
Yeah, exactly.
Know that they are going to be outspoken and dislike you publicly. No, but you want to go around and you want to talk to some of those extended family members. And I mean, yeah, you can really look around politics and see all the times that you wish that family members weren't known.
No. She's talking about you, Billy Carter.
Oh, no. So let's not pick on Billy. Oh,
Or what's his what was Bill Clinton's brother?
no, don't pick on him either. George. Who is George?
George.
He's George. They can't help it. They're doing their best.
In spite of them,
And at times,
there was a successful politician.
it added to the zeitgeist enough to keep you to keep people like interested. I don't know.
Well, sure, yeah, I think.
No.
I mean, the fact that we still remember their name.
I'm not gonna recommend that as a way to get press. Don't do that. Though don't have a family member be big. Big personality.
Big personality family members, just be aware.
Yeah. So
that's kind of the rundown of the important people to discuss before you get too deep into planning your campaign. Make sure that you understand how to communicate this with the people who are going to be affected by it.
but more than anything, the first step to running for office, if you are married, talk to your spouse.
Yes, we go back.
If you're not married, talk to your partner. I'm saving marriager.
Yes, you are.
I am saving relationship.
That is, if that's, you take nothing away from this podcast, understand.
I'm doing this for love.
Yeah, you've always had a softer.
For 15 years, I've been giving this advice, and I do it for the love. I do it so it's not a pain in my ass later down the line in that campaign.
Exactly. So that's gonna wrap it up, I think, for this discussion, our first episode.
It wasn't perfect, but we didn't do terrible.
No, and I hope that we were entertaining enough. People want to come back and listen to us again.
I think we were. You tell us.
Let us know. Give us your comments, and you can send that to BeePolitical, BEE Political LLC.com. No.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com. There you go. Let's try
I
that.
don't even really want that address.
Political LLC at gmail.com.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Write that down. We will answer every single email that we receive.
up until 10.
So get in the first 10 emails. Okay, so I think that's the end of our episode. We hope that you've enjoyed listening to it as much as we've enjoyed making it.
Our next episode is going to be about talking to yourself.
Talking to yourself.
And we're going to have some very specific questions that you're going to want to answer, break down, and you're going to be able to use those answers later on in developing your website and putting together your spelt speech and putting together your biography that you're going to be using for social media and
all in episode 2?
all in episode 2.
That's going to be great. You're not going to want to miss it.
It's exciting. I'm excited to do it.
We're very excited to do it. So for all of us here at How to Run for Office and Get Away with It, I'm Scott.
I'm B.
And we're going to say, see you later.
Alligator?
Alligator.